The Montana sun blazed overhead as Lucas Hartley stood on the front porch of the Double H Ranch, watching a dust cloud approach on the main road. He knew exactly who it was, his mother, Catherine Hartley, arriving with the woman she'd been trying to force him to marry for the past 6 months. At 34, Lucas had successfully avoided marriage, relationships, and his mother's matchmaking attempts by burying himself in ranch work. The Double H was 15,000 acres of prime Montana grazing land, 300 head of cattle, and enough work to keep 10 men busy. Lucas preferred it that way. Work was simple. Work made sense. Work didn't ask questions about why he'd never brought a woman home or shown interest in settling down. But his mother was persistent and wealthy and held the majority share of the ranch that had been in the Hartley family for 4 generations. She'd made it clear: marry Victoria Ashford, unite 2 of Montana's most prominent ranching families, or lose his inheritance and control of the Double H. "Damn it," Lucas muttered, pulling off his work gloves and shoving them in his back pocket. He was dusty from morning chores, his chambray shirt sticking to his back with sweat, his jeans worn and stained, not exactly dressed to meet his supposed future bride. The luxury SUV pulled up to the main house, and Lucas watched his mother emerge first. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair, designer outfit that had probably never seen a day of real work, heels completely impractical for ranch life. Then came Victoria Ashford. She was beautiful, Lucas could acknowledge that objectively. Late 20s, dark hair, elegant features, dressed like she was attending a country club luncheon rather than visiting a working ranch. She looked at the house, the barns, the corrals with barely concealed distaste. Lucas, his mother's voice was bright and false. "Darling, you remember Victoria." "Mrs. Ashford." Lucas nodded politely, not bothering to correct his mother's assumption that they'd ever actually met beyond a brief introduction at some charity function. "Please call me Victoria." She extended a manicured hand, and Lucas shook it briefly. Her hand was soft, uncalloused, had probably never done a day's hard work. "We are here for the weekend," his mother announced, as if Lucas had invited them. "I thought it would be wonderful for you and Victoria to get to know each other better, really see if there's potential for." "Mom, I'm in the middle of fall roundup. I don't have time for entertaining." Lucas kept his voice level despite his frustration. "Nonsense, you have staff for that. Speaking of which, where is that young man who's been keeping the house? I want to make sure the guest rooms are properly prepared." She meant Ethan Cross, who'd been working as the ranch's housekeeper and cook for the past 8 months. Lucas felt his jaw tighten at his mother's dismissive tone. "His name is Ethan, and he's probably inside. I'll let him know you're here." Lucas turned toward the house, grateful for an excuse to escape. "Wait," Victoria called out. "Perhaps you could show me around first. I'd love to see the ranch." Lucas turned back reluctantly. "It's a working ranch, Ms. Ashford. Not much to see beyond cattle and dirt." "I'm sure you're being modest," she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Your mother has told me so much about the Double H, I'd really love a tour." Before Lucas could refuse, his mother chimed in. "What a wonderful idea. You two go ahead. I'll get settled and find that housekeeper, Ethan was it, to help with the luggage." Lucas was trapped. He gave a curt nod and gestured toward the barns. "This way." As they walked, Victoria kept up a stream of conversation, mostly about herself, her family's ranch holdings, the social connections between their families. Lucas made appropriate noises, but wasn't really listening. His mind was on the work he was missing, the fence line that needed repair before winter, the cattle that needed to be moved to the lower pastures. "You're not really interested in this, are you?" Victoria said suddenly, stopping near the main barn. Lucas was surprised by her directness. "What? This whole arranged marriage thing? You're not interested?" She crossed her arms, studying him. "Your mother has been pushing this for months, and you've been avoiding it. I'm not an idiot, Mr. Hartley." "Then why are you here?" Lucas asked bluntly. "Because my father wants the connection between our families, and because I was told you were handsome, successful, and would give me the kind of life I want." She looked around at the ranch, her nose wrinkling slightly. "Though I'll admit, this is more rustic than I expected. This is a working ranch, not a resort." "Yes, well," Victoria smoothed her already perfect hair. Perhaps we can come to some kind of arrangement. I need a husband for social purposes. You apparently need a wife to keep your mother happy. We could make it work on paper without actually having to." "No," Lucas's voice was firm. "I'm not interested in a marriage of convenience. If I'm going to marry someone, it'll be because I want to, not because our parents think it's a good business move." Victoria's expression hardened. "You don't get to be picky, Mr. Hartley. Your mother has made it very clear what's at stake. This ranch, your inheritance, everything you've worked for, it all depends on you falling in line." "Then I guess I'll lose it." Lucas started walking back toward the house. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." He left Victoria standing near the barn and headed for the main house, his temper simmering. He found his mother in the foyer, directing Ethan about the luggage. Ethan looked up as Lucas entered, and Lucas felt the same small jolt he always did when their eyes met. Ethan Cross was 28, with dark brown hair that perpetually needed a cut, warm hazel eyes, and a lean, compact build. He'd shown up 8 months ago responding to the ad Lucas had placed for a housekeeper after his previous one retired. Lucas hadn't expected to hire a man for the position. Most ranch housekeepers were older women, but Ethan had been by far the most qualified applicant. He could cook, clean, manage supplies, do basic bookkeeping, and didn't mind the isolation of ranch life. He was also quiet, kept to himself, and did excellent work. What Lucas definitely hadn't expected was to find himself attracted to his employee. He'd been aware he was gay since his early 20s, though he'd never acted on it. Growing up in Montana ranching country, being the heir to a prominent family legacy, there had never been room for that truth. He dated women occasionally to keep up appearances, but had always found excuses to avoid anything serious. Ethan made him question those choices, made him wonder what it would be like to have something real instead of hiding behind work and duty. "Mr. Hartley." Ethan nodded politely, his arms full of expensive luggage. "Your mother said she'd be staying in the master guest suite." "That's fine, thank you, Ethan." Lucas caught his mother's critical eye on Ethan and felt defensive anger rise. "And please prepare something for lunch, whatever's easiest." "Of course." Ethan headed upstairs with the luggage, and Lucas watched him go, trying not to notice the way his jeans fit. "Lucas," his mother's voice cut through his thoughts, "a word in the study, now." He followed her into his father's old study, now technically his, though he rarely used it. His mother closed the door and turned to face him, her expression severe. "What were you thinking, walking away from Victoria like that?" "I was thinking I have a ranch to run and no interest in being set up with someone I don't know." "This isn't about what you want, Lucas. This is about family legacy, about securing the future of this ranch. Victoria is perfect, good family, good breeding, exactly the kind of wife." "I'm not marrying her." Lucas's voice was flat. "Find another way to merge the families or expand the business. I'm done pretending." His mother's eyes narrowed. "Pretending what exactly?" Lucas froze. He'd said too much. "Nothing, I just meant. Are you telling me there's a reason you've been avoiding marriage all these years?" His mother stepped closer. "A reason you've never brought anyone home? A reason you're so resistant to Victoria despite her obvious suitability?" "Mom." "Because if there's something I should know, something that would explain your behavior, now would be the time to tell me." Lucas felt cornered. He could lie, make up some excuse about not being ready or not finding the right person, or he could tell the truth and watch his mother's world and his own fall apart. Before he could decide, there was a knock on the study door. Ethan's voice came through. "Excuse me, Mrs. Hartley, Mr. Hartley, lunch is ready whenever you're available." His mother's attention shifted. "Thank you, Ethan, we'll be right there." After Ethan's footsteps retreated, she turned back to Lucas. "This conversation isn't over. We'll discuss this more tonight after dinner, but right now, you're going to come have lunch with Victoria and me, and you're going to be pleasant. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." Lunch was excruciating. Victoria made small talk about society events and mutual acquaintances. His mother dropped heavy-handed hints about wedding plans and future grandchildren. Lucas pushed food around his plate, Ethan's excellent cooking wasted on his lack of appetite, and counted the minutes until he could escape. Ethan served the meal with quiet efficiency, refilling drinks and clearing plates. Lucas noticed his mother watching Ethan with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between assessment and suspicion. "So, Ethan," his mother said as Ethan brought out dessert, "how long have you been working here?" "8 months, ma'am. And before that, I worked at a hotel in Billings, front desk and concierge services." "Interesting career change. What brought you to ranch work?" Ethan's expression remained neutral, but Lucas saw a flicker of something in his eyes, pain maybe. "I wanted a change of pace, something quieter." "I see," his mother's tone suggested she saw more than Ethan was saying. "And you live here, on the property?" "Yes, ma'am. There's a small apartment above the garage that comes with the position." How convenient. Something about the way she said it made Lucas's hackles rise. After lunch, Victoria excused herself to rest. The drive was exhausting, and his mother announced she had calls to make. Lucas finally escaped to the barns, where his foreman Carlos was overseeing some equipment repairs. "Rough morning, boss?" Carlos asked, taking in Lucas's tense expression. "You have no idea. Your mama trying to marry you off again." Lucas gave a bitter laugh, something like that. "Well, for what it's worth, that Victoria lady don't look like ranch wife material to me. She took one look at the cattle and about fainted." "Thanks, Carlos." Lucas grabbed his work gloves. "What needs doing this afternoon?" They spent the next several hours checking fence lines, and Lucas was grateful for the physical labor that kept his mind occupied. By the time he returned to the main house for dinner, he was exhausted, filthy, and in no mood for more awkward conversation. He showered quickly and came downstairs to find his mother, Victoria, and Ethan all in the dining room. The table was set formally, not Lucas's usual style, and Ethan was serving some kind of roast that smelled incredible. "There you are," his mother said. "We were beginning to think you'd forgotten about dinner." "Just finishing up some work." Lucas took his seat, acutely aware of Ethan moving around the table, serving food. Their hands brushed briefly as Ethan set down his plate, and Lucas felt that familiar spark of electricity. Dinner conversation was dominated by his mother and Victoria discussing wedding venues. Not that we're assuming anything, but it's good to plan ahead. Lucas contributed as little as possible, his jaw tight with frustration. Then his mother dropped the bomb. "I've decided to extend our visit through the end of the week," she announced. "Give you and Victoria more time to get to know each other, really explore whether this match will work." "Mom, I told you." "It's not a request, Lucas. It's happening." Her voice brooked no argument. "And tomorrow evening, we are hosting a dinner party. I've invited several business associates and neighboring ranchers. It will be the perfect opportunity to announce your engagement." "My what?" Lucas stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. "I never agreed to any engagement." "Lucas, sit down. You're making a scene." "I don't care." His voice rose. "I'm not marrying Victoria. I'm not marrying anyone you pick out for me. I'm done with this charade." "Then you're done with this ranch." His mother's voice cracked like a whip. "Is that what you want? To throw away everything your father built, everything 4 generations of Hartleys have worked for?" Lucas stood there, breathing hard, trapped between duty and truth. He looked at Victoria, who was watching the scene with detached interest, at his mother, whose expression was hard and unyielding, at Ethan, standing near the sideboard with the serving dishes, his face carefully neutral but his eyes full of something that looked like sympathy. In that moment, Lucas made a decision that would change everything. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Ethan's face in both hands, and kissed him. It was desperate, impulsive, and completely inappropriate. But the moment their lips met, Lucas felt something click into place, like he'd been searching for this his entire life without knowing it. Ethan made a small, surprised sound, but didn't pull away. His hands came up to Lucas's chest, fingers curling in his shirt. The kiss lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it felt like forever and not nearly long enough. When Lucas finally pulled back, the dining room was dead silent. His mother's face was sheet white. Victoria's mouth was open in shock. Ethan was staring at him with wide eyes, his lips slightly parted, his cheeks flushed. "There's your reason," Lucas said, his voice hoarse. He was still holding Ethan's face, his thumbs brushing over his cheekbones. "That's why I won't marry Victoria or anyone else you throw at me. That's why I've been avoiding your matchmaking for years. Because I'm gay, and I have been my entire life, and I'm done pretending otherwise." His mother found her voice first. "Lucas Hartley, have you lost your mind?" "Probably." Lucas let go of Ethan reluctantly and turned to face his mother. "But I'm done lying. I'm done hiding. If that means I lose the ranch, then so be it. At least I'll have my integrity." "Your integrity?" His mother's voice was shaking with rage. "You just assaulted your employee. You've humiliated Victoria. You've disgraced this family." "I didn't assault anyone," Lucas said quietly. He looked at Ethan. "Did I?" Ethan was still standing there, looking shell-shocked. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "No, you didn't." Victoria stood abruptly. "Well, this has been enlightening. Mrs. Hartley, I'll be leaving first thing in the morning. Obviously, this arrangement isn't going to work." She looked at Lucas with something that might have been pity. "Good luck, Mr. Hartley. I think you're going to need it." She swept out of the dining room, leaving Lucas alone with his mother and Ethan. His mother's expression was cold. "We'll discuss this tomorrow, when you've had time to think about the consequences of what you've just done." She looked at Ethan. "You, pack your things, you're fired. I want you off this property by morning." "No," Lucas's voice was firm. "You don't get to fire him. This is my ranch, my house, and Ethan works for me. He stays." "We'll see about that." His mother turned and walked out, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood floor. And then it was just Lucas and Ethan, standing in the dining room with the remains of dinner growing cold on the table. "I'm sorry," Lucas said finally. "I shouldn't have. I had no right to." "Why did you do it?" Ethan interrupted. He was still standing near the sideboard, his hands clenched at his sides. "Why did you kiss me?" Lucas took a breath. "Because I couldn't think of any other way to make her understand. Because I've been attracted to you since the day you started working here. Because in that moment, kissing you felt like the only honest thing I'd done in years." Ethan stared at him. "You're attracted to me?" "Yes." "But I'm your employee. Ethan shook his head. "You barely know me. I know you're kind. I know you work hard. I know you make the best coffee I've ever had, and you actually understand how to properly organize a tack room." Lucas stepped closer. "I know that when you smile, which isn't often enough, it lights up your whole face. I know you're running from something, because nobody gives up a decent hotel job to be a ranch housekeeper in the middle of nowhere unless they're trying to escape something." Ethan's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You can't know that. So tell me I'm wrong." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice barely audible. "You're not wrong about any of it." Lucas felt his heart rate pick up. "Ethan." "But that doesn't change anything." Ethan's voice grew stronger. "You just came out to your mother and your potential fiancé by kissing me without my permission. You've probably just cost yourself your inheritance and your ranch. And I'm still your employee, which makes any kind of relationship between us inappropriate at best." "I'll fix it," Lucas said. "I'll talk to my mother, make her understand." "Make her understand what? That you're gay, that you kissed your male housekeeper in front of witnesses, that you're willing to throw away 4 generations of family legacy for—" Ethan gestured helplessly. "For what, exactly?" "For the chance to be myself, for the possibility of something real." Lucas closed the distance between them. "I know this is messy, I know I handled it badly, but I meant what I said, Ethan. I'm done pretending, and if that means I lose the ranch, then at least I'll have a chance at actually living instead of just existing." Ethan looked up at him, conflict clear in his hazel eyes. "You don't even know if I'm interested. You don't know if I feel the same way. Then tell me you felt nothing when I kissed you. Tell me there's no attraction, no possibility. If you can honestly say that, I'll back off. I'll help you find another job if my mother makes things difficult here, but if there's any chance that you feel even a fraction of what I'm feeling." Lucas let the sentence hang. Ethan's breath hitched. "Lucas, I can't. This is my job. This is my home. If I tell you that I've been—" He stopped, pressing his lips together. "You're asking me to risk everything. I'm asking you to take a chance on something that could be incredible. Lucas reached out slowly, giving Ethan time to pull away. When he didn't, Lucas gently tucked a strand of hair behind his ear. "What are you running from, Ethan?" The question hung in the air between them. Ethan's eyes were full of pain and longing and fear. "I had a relationship," Ethan said finally, his voice raw, "back in Billings. He was a guest at the hotel where I worked. We started dating, and I thought it was real, thought he cared about me. Turned out he was married. His wife showed up at the hotel, made a scene, got me fired. Told everyone I was a home wrecker who'd seduced her husband." Lucas felt anger burn in his chest. "That's not." "I didn't know he was married," Ethan continued, the words coming faster now. "He lied about everything, and when his wife confronted him, he threw me under the bus. Said I'd been pursuing him, that he'd tried to resist, but I wouldn't leave him alone. It destroyed my reputation. I couldn't get another job in the city, so I came out here to the middle of nowhere, thinking I could start over, thinking I could be safe. And then I kissed you and dragged you right back into drama." Lucas felt sick. "Ethan, I'm so sorry." "Don't," Ethan wiped at his eyes. "Don't apologize for being honest. Don't apologize for taking a stand against people who wanted to control your life. Just don't expect me to immediately jump into something when the last time I trusted someone, it cost me everything." "I won't," Lucas lowered his hand. "But I need you to know I meant that kiss. I meant every word I said. And whatever happens with my mother and the ranch, I want a chance to show you that not all men are liars, that some of us actually mean what we say." Ethan looked at him for a long moment, then slowly he nodded. "Okay. Okay. Okay, you can try to show me. But slowly, Lucas. I need slow. I need to be sure this is real and not just you making a statement to your mother." Relief flooded through Lucas. "Slow, I can do slow. And we need to figure out the employment situation. I can't date my boss, that's..." Ethan gestured helplessly. "We'll figure it out," Lucas promised. "Together, if you're willing to give us a chance." Ethan's lips curved into a small, hesitant smile. The first real smile Lucas had seen from him. "I might be crazy, but yeah, I'm willing." Lucas wanted to kiss him again, properly this time, but he held back. He'd promised slow. So instead, he just smiled back and said, "Thank you for giving me a chance I definitely don't deserve." "You might be right about that," Ethan said, but his eyes were warm. "Now help me clean up this dinner mess, and then we should probably both get some sleep. Something tells me tomorrow is going to be complicated." That was an understatement. But as they cleared the table together, moving around each other in the kitchen with an easy rhythm, Lucas felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Lucas barely slept that night. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the kiss over and over in his mind, the shock on his mother's face, Victoria's hasty departure, but mostly the feeling of Ethan's lips against his, the way Ethan had gripped his shirt, the small sound he'd made. The way Ethan had said yes to giving them a chance. Around 5 a.m., Lucas gave up on sleep and got dressed for morning chores. He found Ethan already in the kitchen, coffee brewing, looking as tired as Lucas felt. "Couldn't sleep either?" Lucas asked. "Not really." Ethan handed him a mug of coffee. "Your mother came to my apartment last night." Lucas's hand tightened on the mug. "What did she say?" "That I was fired and had until noon to pack my things, that if I didn't leave quietly, she'd make sure I never worked in Montana again." Ethan's voice was steady, but Lucas could see the tension in his shoulders, that I was a predator who'd taken advantage of her confused son. "That's not..." "I know," Ethan cut him off. "I told her she couldn't fire me because I didn't work for her, that you're my employer, and if you wanted me gone, you'd have to tell me yourself." "I don't want you gone," Lucas said immediately. "I don't ever want you gone." "I know that too." Ethan's expression softened slightly. "But Lucas, this is only going to get worse before it gets better. Your mother controls your inheritance. She has influence in this community. If she decides to make trouble for us, she can do a lot of damage." "Let her try." Lucas set down his coffee mug. "The ranch is in my name. My father made sure of that before he died. She may hold some shares, but I'm the majority owner. She can threaten and bluster all she wants, but she can't actually take it away from me." "Are you sure about that?" "I had my lawyer confirm it last year when she started really pushing the marriage agenda." Lucas leaned against the counter. She knows it too, which is probably why she's so angry. She doesn't have the leverage she thought she did. What about the community, the other ranchers? Lucas was quiet for a moment. That's going to be harder. Montana ranching country isn't exactly known for progressive attitudes. Some people will be fine, others won't. We'll lose business, probably. Lose friends, definitely. Is it worth it? Ethan asked quietly. Losing all that for someone you barely know. It's worth it for the chance to stop living a lie, Lucas said. Even if things don't work out between us, and I really hope they do, at least I'll be living as myself for the first time in my life. That's worth any price. Ethan looked at him for a long moment, something unreadable in his hazel eyes. You're either the bravest man I've ever met or the craziest. Probably both. A small smile tugged at Ethan's lips. Probably. They stood there in the kitchen, coffee growing cold, neither quite willing to break the moment. Then Lucas's phone rang, his mother, undoubtedly calling to continue yesterday's argument. I should take this, Lucas said reluctantly. I'll start breakfast. Ethan moved toward the stove. You'll need your strength for whatever she's planning. Lucas stepped out onto the back porch to take the call. Mom. Lucas, his mother's voice was cold and controlled. I'm leaving this morning. Victoria has already gone, but this conversation isn't over. Good, because I have some things to say too. You have nothing to say that I want to hear right now. What you did last night was disgraceful. Kissing that boy in front of witnesses, making a spectacle. His name is Ethan, and I kissed him because I wanted to, because I'm attracted to him, and because I was tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. You're throwing away everything for some flight of fancy with your employee. Do you understand how this looks? What people will say? I don't care what people say. Lucas's voice was firm. I care about being honest, about living my life on my terms, not yours or anyone else's. You're making a mistake that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. I'm 34 years old, Mom. I've run this ranch successfully for the past 8 years since Dad died. I've increased our holdings, improved our breeding program, turned a profit every year. I've earned the right to make my own choices about my personal life. His mother was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy. I never wanted this for you, never wanted you to have to struggle the way you will if you go down this path. Something in her tone made Lucas pause. What do you mean? I knew, the words came out flat. I've known since you were 17, maybe earlier. A mother knows her child. I saw the way you looked at boys instead of girls, the way you avoided dating. I knew, and I tried to protect you from it. Lucas felt like the ground had shifted beneath his feet. You knew. I thought if I pushed hard enough, if I found the right girl, you'd be able to. She stopped. I know how that sounds now, but I wanted you to have an easier life than what being openly gay would give you in this community. Is that so wrong? Yes, Lucas said gently, because you were trying to protect me from myself instead of accepting who I actually am. And in doing that, you made me feel like there was something wrong with me, like I had to hide the most fundamental part of myself to be worthy of love or respect. He heard his mother's breath catch. I never meant, I do love you, Lucas, no matter what you think. I know, but love without acceptance isn't enough. Lucas looked through the kitchen window at Ethan, who was cooking breakfast with quick, efficient movements. I need you to accept all of me, including this part. Can you do that? Another long silence. I don't know, I need time. Take whatever time you need, but until you can accept me as I am, I think it's better if you keep your distance. Lucas. I love you, Mom, but I'm done apologizing for who I am. Lucas ended the call before she could respond. He stood on the porch for a moment, letting the morning air cool his heated emotions. Then he went back inside, where Ethan had breakfast waiting, eggs, bacon, toast, all perfectly prepared. How did it go? Ethan asked. About as well as expected. Lucas sat down at the kitchen table. She knew, all these years, she knew I was gay and tried to force me to be straight anyway. Ethan set a plate in front of him. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I don't know yet. Angry, relieved, confused, all of it at once. Lucas looked up at Ethan. but also more certain than ever that I made the right choice last night. Coming out, kissing you, refusing the marriage, all of it was right. Even if it costs you your relationship with your mother. Even then, Lucas caught Ethan's hand as he moved past. Thank you for not running away last night, for giving me a chance. Ethan's fingers tightened around his. I haven't decided if that was brave or stupid yet. Let me know when you figure it out. They ate breakfast together, and for the first time in the 8 months Ethan had worked at the Double H, it felt less like employer and employee and more like something else, something with potential. After breakfast, Lucas headed out to the barns to meet with Carlos and the other ranch hands. He knew the story of what had happened last night would spread through the community like wildfire, and he needed to get ahead of it with his own men. He found Carlos in the main barn, checking on a mare who was due to foal soon. The older man looked up as Lucas approached, his weathered face carefully neutral. Morning, boss. Carlos, Lucas took a breath. I need to talk to you about something, about last night. Already heard about it. Carlos continued checking the mare, not meeting Lucas's eyes. Betty Johnson called my wife first thing this morning, said there was quite a scene at the main house yesterday. Betty Johnson was Victoria's aunt. Of course, word had already gotten out. What exactly did Betty say? Lucas asked. That you kissed your male housekeeper in front of your mama and your intended bride, that you told them you were gay and refused the marriage. Carlos finally looked at him. That true? Yes, all of it. Carlos was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. All right then. Lucas blinked. All right, that's it. What do you want me to say, boss? You're a grown man. Who you kiss and who you love is your business, not mine. Carlos went back to the mare. You've been fair to me and my family. You pay well, you treat people right, you work harder than any ranch owner I've ever known. That's what matters to me. Relief flooded through Lucas. Thank you, that means more than you know. But Carlos continued, his voice serious. I won't lie to you. There are people in this community who won't be as understanding. You're going to face some pushback, probably lose some business. You need to be prepared for that. I know. And your men, the other hands, they're going to have questions. Some might not be comfortable continuing to work here. I understand. I'll talk to everyone at the weekly meeting tomorrow. Give them a chance to ask questions, express concerns, decide if they want to stay. Carlos nodded approvingly. That's the right way to handle it, honest and upfront. He paused. For what it's worth, boss, I think you did the brave thing. Takes guts to stand up to your family, to be yourself in a place like this. Your daddy would have been proud. Lucas's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. Your daddy was a good man, but he had his own demons, his own secrets he never talked about. He would have understood what you did better than most. That was cryptic, but before Lucas could ask what Carlos meant, one of the other hands called out that a section of fence had been damaged overnight, probably by deer or elk pushing through. The rest of the day was consumed by ranch work, fixing fences, moving cattle, dealing with a piece of equipment that had broken down at the worst possible time. It was exhausting physical labor that left Lucas too tired to think much about the emotional bombshell of the previous 24 hours. He returned to the main house around 7 p.m., dirty and exhausted. Ethan met him at the door with a towel. Thank you for watching my video.